Today we're going to be making some vegetable stock and pressure canning it. Vegetable stock is a good substitute in any recipe that calls for chicken stock. And the great thing about it is there really is no recipe for it. So what I usually will do is if I peel potatoes or carrots or anything like that, I save them in a Ziploc bag, stick them in the freezer. When the bag's full, then you can just throw it all in a pot with some water and make some stock. In this particular case, I have the leftover vegetable parts from when I made the tomato basil soup. I have the remaining carrots and celery and bell pepper from that recipe also. I have some potatoes that need to be used. And then I'm going to add extra garlic and onion and some of the last jar of my canned whole tomatoes. Then we'll just cut all this stuff up, throw it in a pot with some water, and stick it on the stove. Another good thing about this recipe is you really can't overcook it, so you can get all this stuff going in the morning and put it on your wood stove, or today I'm going to put it on our oil stove, and I'll just let it simmer all day until I'm ready to can it. The longer you let it simmer, the better it is. Alright, everything's all chopped up in some coarse pieces. I didn't bother peeling anything, I just scrubbed the dirt off and chopped it up, since we strain it at the end. For spice, we're going to add some bay leaves, some of my dried basil, some fresh thyme from the garden, and some peppercorns. So we'll throw that all in there and fill it up, add probably 7 to 8 quarts of water, and throw it on the stove. Alright, this is our vegetable broth. It's happily steaming away. We're about an hour into it. I'm going to let it go for another hour or so, and I'll can it when I'm ready. Our vegetable stock has been cooking on the oil stove all day. It smells good. What we're going to do now is strain it through a strainer into another pan, and we'll put it in some canning jars and in the pressure cooker. At this point, we can discard the vegetables. We'll put the broth into the canning jars and put them into the pressure canner. Alright, our stock is ready. We have our quart jars that have been washed with hot soapy water, and they're sitting in hot water right now, getting ready to be filled with the stock. Our pressure canner is ready, has the rack in the bottom. We have some water heating. We're going to need probably 2 quarts of water to put in there. 2 quarts plus a pint, because it's not going to be full. I'm anticipating 4 quarts, and I have 6 quart jars ready just in case. Alright, we have our canning funnel and our spatula to remove air bubbles, and our ladle. And then we have a little rag to wipe off the edge of the jar to make sure that it seals properly. Now we have our canning jar. Put the funnel in it. We want about an inch of headspace. That's the distance between the top of the liquid to the top of the jar. So we have that. Just run the spatula around to make sure we get all the air bubbles out. Wipe the edge of the jar down. Make sure we get a good seal. Put our lid on it and our cap on it. Then we'll set it back in the warm water until we're ready to transfer it to the pressure canner. I'm going to continue on with all the rest, and then I'll show you putting it in the pressure canner. Now we have all of our stock put up in quart jars. They're sitting in hot water. We have our pressure canner ready to go. The rack in the bottom, we have our hot water ready to go. So we're going to move the jars of stock over into the pressure canner, and we'll dump our hot water in there, and then we'll get it heating up to temperature. This is 2 quarts plus 1 pint of hot water. It's important enough to get enough to make the pressure right, and not too much to give it too much pressure. Now we'll put the lid on. Make sure it's screwed on there nice and tight. We have our vent pin up there. This we're going to cook at 10 pounds of pressure, so you want the 10 over the vent pin. And once it gets up to temperature and starts venting, we're going to process it for about 35 minutes. The pressure cooker is up to temperature now. Keeps venting, should be venting 3 to 4 times a minute. And we'll let it go for 35 minutes. It's been processing for 35 minutes now, so we're going to turn off the heat and move it off the stove and let it cool down slowly. You want to make sure that the pressure inside the pot and the pressure inside the canning jars come down at the same time, so we don't have any pressure pushing the liquid out of the jars. So now we'll just let it sit there and cool down slowly. There's our vegetable stock, all done and ready to go for any recipes that require chicken stock. It's perfect for that.